a search for the word Hitler, there's different, they kind of figure out, oh, here must be what you're looking for. And so what they do is they come up with different profiles. Well, the very first profile to pop up is Donald Trump. Profile of Donald Trump if you're looking for Hitler. Same thing happens if you type in the word fascist. Same thing happens if you type in the word racist. And as Nolan points out, I think it's a very fair point, Twitter, we know Twitter and Google and all these things, they pretty much are left-wing. And so this is the same Twitter that allowed to trend for hours the phrase, the hashtag or whatever, rape Melania. Allowed that to trend for hours before enough complaints finally got that removed. Twitter has allowed over 12,000 tweets calling for the assassination of President Trump. But apparently doesn't violate their standards. But anyway, it got me thinking about the whole Hitler and racist and whatever. And why is it, have you ever really thought about this before? Why is it that many liberals in America, not all certainly, but many of them, have such hatred, absolute emotional hatred, over-the-top hatred for anything conservative or for people that are conservatives? What is that about? See, they don't tend to look at conservatives and conservative policies as just something that they disagree with. Liberals would tend to look at us, those of us that are politically conservative, as evil. Really. I mean, again, not all liberals, but many of them do. They see us as evil. And so that's why when I say things like, well, you liberals ought to be more tolerant, you ought to be more inclusive, why don't you include discussion or debate with conservatives on these viewpoints? They don't want to give us, they don't even want to give us a seat at the table. They don't want to validate our evil positions with debate. In other words, the positions that we hold as conservatives are so vile, they're so reprehensible, they're so ugly that they don't deserve the credibility of even honest dialogue. Now, I was talking with an author on the show last week, an analyst. We were discussing this, and what I likened it to is, let's be honest, folks. I'm not totally and completely inclusive or tolerant. Like, for example, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Bob, let's have an open and honest dialogue and discussion, and give one of the seats at the table to the KKK." Or to NAMBLA that promotes, North American Man-Boy Love Association that promotes pedophilia, or some neo-Nazi group or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in getting their input, quite frankly, other than for an academic purpose to understand how reprehensible these people are. But other than that, I'm not going to look at somebody who is with the KKK or somebody who believes in white supremacy or something like that. I'm not going to look at that person and say, well, I can respect their opinion. I don't agree with it, but hey, we can agree to disagree. I'm not going to look at it that way. I'm going to look at that and go, wow, that person is sick. That person is twisted. How can any decent human being believe such a vile thing, right? That's what I'm going to think when I look at the neo-Nazi, when I look at the KKK member, when I look at somebody like that, that's what I tend to think. Well, I think everybody understands that is an appropriate way to look at them. However, problem is that's how liberals tend to look at conservatives. You guys are just so vile. You guys are just so disgusting. What you guys support is so despicable that you're on par with Hitler. You're on par with the KKK. You don't deserve the respect of even dialogue because your views are so reprehensible. That's how a lot of liberals look at conservatives. So I'm trying to examine, why is this? Really, if you think about it, why is it? What exactly are our positions that are so reviled? Let's go through a few of the positions, if we could. Now, as I go through these positions, here's what I want you to keep in mind. I have no problem whatsoever with a liberal who says, hey, I disagree with you on this position here. Now, I look at it this way, you look at it this way, I look at it this way, and so I think you're wrong, you think I'm wrong, that's okay, but at least we can have friendly dialogue about it. Okay? I wouldn't mind liberals looking at it that way, and I can totally handle somebody, hey, you know what, I'm pro-choice, I'm personally opposed to abortion, but I think it should be an individual woman's right to choose. Okay, I don't agree with that argument. I think there are all kind of holes that could be poked in that argument. I've poked holes in that many times over the years. But I'm not going to say to somebody, I'm not going to develop such an emotional passion of teeth-gritting anger toward that person that I'm now accusing them of being the KKK and Adolf Hitler and just a despicable human being who is not even deserving or worthy of even having dialogue. I mean, come on, folks. You hear I debate on this show pro-choice people. And when I debate them on this show, I say, hey, look, let's have a friendly discussion about that. How do you answer this? How do you answer, I'll answer your tough questions. You answer my tough questions. Let's have dialogue about this. Let's let iron sharpen iron, especially if it's a Christian who supports the pro-life cause or pro-abortion cause. Which it's not that way the other way around. Oh, you're pro-life? Okay, well then you're just a despicable human being who's sexist and anti-woman, and you believe that women should die in back alley abortions and all this. In other words, it's a really despicable view to have to oppose legalized abortion. Why? Why? Look, I can understand a liberal who says, I disagree with your view. What I don't understand is the liberal who says, I'm so disgusted by your view that I can hardly even look at you. That is what seems odd. But it's not just on abortion. There's a lot of other issues as well. The LGBT movement is a great example of this. Okay? If you believe the whole transgender bathroom issue, that's a big debate right now in North Carolina and other states dealing with this. Okay, fine. If you believe that a teenage boy who thinks that he's a girl should be allowed to go into the girls' locker room and the girls' shower because you sincerely believe that that person's gender identity is female and so therefore they really are female and they ought to be allowed to go in the ladies' room, okay, fine. I totally disagree with you. I will be happy to have that debate with you. But I don't look at you as a sick, evil, disgusting subhuman that's not even worthy of discussion. But see, it is the other way around. Liberals tend to look at conservatives and say, you believe that that transgender, quote, female should not be allowed to go into the women's locker room and the women's shower? You disgusting, vile, hate-mongering, poor excuse for a human being, right? I mean, there's something perceived as evil about our desire to keep men in the men's room and women in the women's room. But you have to stop and ask yourself, and those of you that have liberal friends and family and coworkers, you know what it's like. You engage in these conversations, okay? Just ask them point blank, okay? You can disagree with me, but do you consider my position? Do you consider the position that I have a radical position, an extreme position, an evil position, a fascist, Hitleresque, on the par with KKK kind of position? Do you think it's that extreme? See what they say. Because then you really have a challenge to place to the liberal, okay? How can you possibly take my position that a man should go in the men's room and a woman in the woman's room, okay, and that somebody who identifies as the opposite sex should not be allowed to go into the shower of the opposite sex just because they think that's who they are in their head? You may disagree with me on that's fine, but if I hold that position, how can you even put that in the same ballpark as the KKK, who lynched and killed black people because they were black? Or Adolf Hitler gassing and killing 6 million Jews because they were Jewish? I mean, how do you equate those two things? I don't don't know. But then again, there's some other issues. What about fiscal policies and lowering taxes and smaller government and helping the poor and illegal immigration and whatever? The conservative side of those issues are also viewed as evil.